number one source, Sports Card Nation. The hobby is the people. Sports Card Nation.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 372 of Sports Card Nation. A little under the weather. I've got COVID for the second time that I know of in my life. Minor symptoms. I'm doing all right. No fever, so have to wear a mask. That's probably the worst thing about it. You know, a little headache, a little scratchy throat, but could be a lot worse. So, no pity party for me. Just figured I'm pretty, open with things I share. So, but the show will go on as always, and this will be part 2 of our conversation with Nascard Radio's Val Marz and Logan Ward. We're going to talk a little more hobby on part 2 than we did part 1, which focused on their Racing Card Hall of Fame card induction. We'll chop up a little bit more hobby on this episode. So with that being said, we'll keep the intro short and sweet and get the show started. Okay, here is the conclusion of our conversation with Val Marz, Logan Ward from Nascard Radio. Enjoy.
Hey, John. Yeah, we go back a ways.
Yeah, it's good to be here, John.
Yeah, we can't promise anyone's safety on these episodes that are coming out of this, but buckle up, to use a racing or a card term, and we're gonna and you guys are doing a great job with NASCAR Radio and that side of the hobby. You guys are probably when we talk about that side of the hobby, you guys are the first 2 guys you mentioned. Right at the forefront of that. We're going to get into some of that. You've got an endeavor that you're doing, Racing Card Hall of Fame. We're going to get to that, but let's start off with some. Here's the thing, and this happens to you guys, and I don't know if it bothers you or I think sometimes when you specialize in an area like racing cards, people think that's all you know. And I know, obviously, from knowing you guys, I know that's not the case. You know the hobby besides racing cards, even though that's your main focus. You're not tunnel vision. You see what's going on across the board. So let's start there, guys. Kind of a state of the union. Whoever wants to go, like where the hobby is here as we wrap up. This is going to air in 2026 as we wrapped up 2025, which was no shortage of news that seemed like every week in the hobby. Go ahead, Val.
Just waiting on Logan to say something. So you throw our timing off. Usually it's just me and Logan on the show. Doing a niche and like NASCAR as well as, but we kind of keep tabs on some of the others and like wax, and there's a lot of similarities in how you yeah, it just seems like 2025. I had a lot of stuff I didn't have on my board there with essays buying everything up, and
I got breaking news. The new owner of Sports Card Nation podcast is Collectors. They just called me. We worked. I'm kidding.
Congratulations, John.
So here's what I'm supposed to say. No, I'm just kidding. That is not just for those who don't get my humor or our humor. That is just we're joking around. They can't afford me.
There you go. Well, I don't know. Nat, he's got some deep pockets, or maybe he fanatics buys you. So yeah, I mean, where to start in 25? I think maybe.
Well, let's start there. Let's start there, Vale. Like the Collectors Universe now, in a sense, owning 3 grading entities with PSA, SGC, and now Beckett. Like, I don't. There's 1,000 grading card companies. Some we've never even heard of, don't know of. That's going to be what they hang their hat on, that they're not a monopoly. But let's be real, right? That's 3 of the big 4 if you want to keep it at a big 4, with EC being the one on the outside looking in. Thoughts on that? Is that good for the hobby, bad for the hobby, neither? Just it is what it is? Like, where do you fall on that question?
Well, I'll answer that one. At least,
and I know, listen, you're a PSA Hall of Famer, so we're like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I am in the PSA Collectors Hall of Fame. But back when I first started grading, which was over 20 years ago, I remember going to the National and bulk submitting like a couple hundred cards and getting prices at about $4 a card at bulk rates. Now it's what, 22, however much it is now. It's just grown exponentially, and it's gotten to a point where, oh man, it's PSA. I love you, Nat. I love you guys, but I feel like I'm being priced out as a collector. It's just the prices are too high. The cards that I want to grade are not worth grading at the prices that they're charging. And not only that, it seems like if you're a set registry member, that getting commons graded at, like I said, $22 or whatever it is now a hit.
Yeah, those days are over. Those days
not
are over,
worth it.
Logan. I hate this. $4. That was $4 a card. That was 1939.
No, 1940. You need to get your facts straight. but it's hard to be a set registry collector like I am with the prices that they're charging. And then, you see prices go up and you see turnaround times go higher. We go from whatever 65 days to 75 days or whatever the number
but
is.
you know why? You guys know why? Because they got you. Now they got you even more because before you could always say before these acquisitions, Logan and Val, you could say, well, you know what? I'm fed up with PSA. I'm going to SGC. I'm going to Beckett. Now when you say that, right, they're like, okay, the money comes to the same bank vault, right? Like, do what you want to do. So that's I guess if I don't have a major problem, but I guess that's it, is because it's like Burger King buying McDonald's and Wendy's, right? Or whatever analogy you want to make. The 3 supermarkets that might be in your region that are competitors, now they're owned by the same parent company. So no matter where you do your shopping, they don't really care anymore because the money still winds up in the same place. Where when it's not owned by the same company, they're competing against one another. They want to be better because they want you to do business with them and them only. Now they've just got their hands in 3 different tills. And that's just on the grading side. We could do a whole nother show on just hobby entities, right? So that's where I fall. That's what makes me nervous is you don't have a lot of places to turn that are reputable, known grading companies, unless that's at this point to me, CGC's that last remaining one, and they're known more for their non-sports and TCG. Will that change now? Maybe they get a bump from all this news. Go ahead. I've done enough rambling.
One of the things I was going to say, and I don't think it gets kind of talked enough about, but is the set ready. I think that was a big draw that folks for the $4, $5, that's when I kind of got started completing sets in the set registry, right? And that was kind of driving some of that. And then I could see for the higher end cards like that, which would get their stuff graded. And it's always been a draw, and it helps with pricing, PSA sets like that. So, but I mean, it's smart with, the PSA's changed hands and they're buying their competition, I guess, trying to keep maybe Fanatics out. Fanatics on how tactics and how they've wrangled all that sport off. And again, to your point, like they bought all those competitors. These little guys, they have no foothold or challenge. And again, is the big draw, and that's why I don't leave. You can ask Logan how many he has and how many cards he has, and they can fit in all those. So I think if you get in, you don't get out.
Yeah, I'm all in with PSA right now, and I think the market has changed substantially, and PSA has catered to the changes because now it's not a collector market. This is my opinion. It's not a collector market per se. It's a flipping market. It's all about making money. It's all about greed. And PSA is like, okay, and I understand it. They want to get their money because they know that these people are going to grade these cards, sell them for, extra, exorbitantly more money, and flip these cards. So PSA is going to charge more. So I'm not the target market anymore. It's the flippers and the as one of our friends says, the Investa flip boys that are the people that are flipping cards, and all they are hot potatoes. Nobody's collecting them. All somebody's doing is hoping they can buy this card at a good price, sell it at a profit, and let the next guy deal with the hot potato. That's the market we're dealing with.
Yeah,
it's become
use the vault. So
it's become day trading. It's become day trading a little bit. So at this past year's National in Chicago, there was the downstairs, which became like, trade night with people putting their stuff on the table. I didn't go down there. I went down there really. It was kind of a secret bathroom that you didn't have to wait in line for. But the truth be told, guys, and walking the floor, you hear conversations, right? And you made a great point, Val, right? That there's no more attachment at all to cards. Like, oh, I love this card. I want to own 10 of them, right? This is things I would hear on that trading floor. Oh, I just got this 3 hours ago. I need this for it. You know what I mean? So it's just a vessel to get the next thing hours later, to get the next thing hours later, to get the next thing the next day, the next weekend, the next show. When we use the term PC, right, for personal collection, I think that's becoming sort of a lost art. I don't know if people have, I've even heard, and I'm not going to mention names, I heard someone I know say they used to have a personal collection, but now the way the market is, everything has a price and they're not attached to anything. So even personal collections are going the way of the dinosaur, and like they don't exist anymore. And I know the saying, everything has a price, and it is true. I mean, my grail card's behind me in this Jackie Robinson rookie. If someone offered me more than it's worth, I'm going to sell it. And then, but what am I going to do? I'm going to buy another one and just replace it. So I'm not just keeping the money. I still have the card if someone wanted to overpay. So that's a little different. But there is very few people, or it seems like PCs are a dying, a lost art.
There's no doubt about that, John. And I'm going to go back to the prime word that I'm using here is greed. People see that they see things on TV. Okay. Oh, this card, Caitlin Clark card sold for blah, 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 or this card sold for blah, blah, blah. And they're going, oh my God, I can make all this money with trading cards. So that's their mentality. Their mentality is not to collect, which, this is supposed to be a hobby, which again, in my opinion, it has kind of ceased to be a hobby in a lot of aspects. And there's just, I'm not a fan of what I'm seeing in the hobby. And people out there, you guys can call me an old head. You can call me whatever you want to call me. That's fine. But I'm a true collector in the sense, and I've been collecting for over 50 years. And I started doing this as a kid because I loved it, and I still love it to this day. But that's not how it works now. And maybe I need to come to grips with that, but the market is totally different.
Well, you're talking about with like that, and I think with this whole gambling, people are, I won't say it's a scratch off opening up wax boxes, right? I know the other stick and ball cards of those hot rookie command tens of thousands of dollars, and Johnny or not. We have a really hot rookie right now in NASCAR, 101 in National Car high end. I know super high, maybe life changing. People are buying all this wax and mentality, trying to get this.
Here's the thing, guys. You can do both. Like, and I'll point to myself as an example. So I've done shows since I've been a 15-year-old kid. So I've done 37 years of setting up as shows as a dealer. Now I have a dealer inventory, and then everything, you see behind me and in boxes, that never goes with me to the show. That's my PC. Like, you can do both. And I don't want this to be misconstrued as, oh, well, John thinks he's better because he does both. But, there is a part of the hobby, like you guys just pointed out, and I'm going to point out, that there's just no more, they don't keep anything. Everything is just, there's no attachment. Everything is just a dollar sign. This card is this, that card is that, this other card is this, and that's all I'm concerned with. I don't care. Oh, he had a great game last night, or he won a race last week. Now the card is this. That's all I care about. I got into cards as a very young kid because I was a sports kid, and then I learned they were making cards of these athletes that I loved and followed growing up in New York City. And I'm like, I got to get the cards. I wasn't thinking, dollar signs. I even got into doing shows, I'll blame it on my friends and peer pressure. I wasn't chewing the gum, guys. I was trading my gum for more cards and getting my cavities from drinking Coca-Cola instead. And I amassed this pretty good collection for a younger kid, a younger teen. I was working at a card shop, and so I was working at card shows for the card store. And then all my friends were like, "You got quite a collection, Newman. Why don't you set up yourself?" And I didn't initially. I think I was a year of hearing that. Like, what are you waiting for, man? You should do it. You got enough stuff. And finally, I did. I said, I'm gonna try it, and I did well. My first show, I had no bedside manner. I've talked about this on this. I didn't talk to. I just sat there until someone wanted to buy something off my table. To the point, people thought like my dad was just in the bathroom or something. They didn't even realize it was my stuff. I told the story that one person said, "Hey, I'm interested in this card. When your dad comes back, I kind of want to see if he can do a little better." And I had to say, no, this is my stuff. And the look on their face when I said that. So I hope after 37 years of card shows, I've improved some of that banter, which I think I have, but not being that shy kid. But I keep cards and I sell, but you can do both. To be fully transparent, if you ask me, "Hey John, does it bother you if someone has zero attachment to the cards and it's just a vessel for money?" Yeah, I'd say it bothers me a little bit. Am I losing sleep over it? No, but I like to think a hobby, right? It's something you do, whether you build models or you paint, right? You keep some of what you do. Even if you sell some of what you do, you also some of what you do. And I just think it's different today than when we probably first got into.
Yeah, it's definitely more amplified than it's ever been. I'll tell you this quick story. I remember years ago, I collected Hot Wheel cars as well. And I was at a Walmart one night. I picked up a car, and I had it in my hand, and some dude comes in and he sees this car in my hand. He goes, "Hey, that's supposed to be for me." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "No, that's supposed to be for me." He goes, "I bet you don't even collect them or do anything with them. In fact, I ought to come and burn your house down." And he was screaming and yelling at me in the middle of Walmart, and they had to escort this guy out. And that was the night that I ended up stopping collecting Hot Wheels, because it's like, okay, it's not worth it. If people are that obsessed with it and think that, the value is, how much I can sell it for is all it's, all that it's, about, then I don't want any part of this. So, and I used to think that Hot Wheel collectors were really, not even collectors. They were just, terrible, terrible collectors. And then the pandemic came. Then I saw how the greed was and the prices and things and how things changed in our hobby. And I don't think that the Hot Wheel collectors are the worst collectors anymore. And that's a terrible statement to make. But that's how I feel about the hobby in general, and more so with stick and ball. I would have to say that our aspect of the hobby, our little niche, is still primarily about collecting. Because here's why. Because people look at NASCAR and they go, "Oh, it's NASCAR cards. There's not much value in those, so I'm not going to mess with it." And that's fine with me. I'm going to still keep collecting, and I'm still keep having fun with it. But the stick and ball, that's a whole nother story. And it really is disturbing.
One thing I was going to say, I think we all agree prices rise and stuff like that. My fear is stuff escalates really high and folks get a bad experience, right? They spend $100 for a wax box, get not even half their money back, then they kind of get out of the hobby. I think to stay in the hobby and collect and enjoy it. And when I was talking about the high wax price like that, that's kind of where I'm coming from, where, people having a bad experience, they leave the hobby.
Well, see, that's where I'm going to differ. I'm going to disagree with you. Some of that hobby growing. I hear all the time that we want to bring more people into the hobby. Why? Somebody out there, somebody in the comments, somebody tell me why we want to grow the hobby. Because all I see anymore is nothing but, I'm going to go back to it, and I keep using this word because it's absolutely true. Greed. I don't want more greedy people in here. Now, if we get more hobbyists in here, people that truly care about the cards, want to keep the cards and collect the cards and have fun with it and make it a real hobby, I'm cool with that. But right now, people are in this hobby for the wrong reasons. Do I want the hobby to grow? No. And let me tell you this too. it wouldn't hurt my feelings one bit if the whole market crashed today.
Well, I guess when I say grow the hobby, we talked about before where we have NASCAR folks who don't even know they make NASCAR cards, right? So we can't even get NASCAR cards at the tracks. So because they complain about who's on the box, because they don't want to promote some other driver, and Panini doesn't want to do a generic brand blaster. That's what I was talking about with trying to grow the sport. We have folks. I've been at the NASCAR Hall. We've been to the NASCAR Hall of Fame getting cards autographed, and people are like, "What is that?" It's a NASCAR. They make those? Like, yeah, they've been making them since 1988.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's like you hear that, when like you said, that's 37 years of NASCAR cards, and people aren't even aware of that track record, pun intended, right?
You are listening to the Sports Card Nation podcast. We'll be right back after this break.
Iron Sports Cards is your #1 source for all your PSA and other grading submissions. Their elite status improves turnaround times. Heck, they even provide the card savers. Their chat rooms provide updates on all your submissions. They also offer wax options and single cards to cover all the bases. Check them out on Facebook at Iron Sports Cards Group or on the web at ironsportscards.com, or even give them a call at 1-877-IRON-PSA. Rob's got you covered.
We are back.
And going back to something Logan said, I agree with you, Logan, in this respect, right? And Val, and I don't want to speak for Val, he's right here, but growing the hobby for people who are going to stick around for the long haul, those are the people I want to come in to the hobby, Val and Logan, right? People like I started, as a 7-year-old kid in 1979. Here we are in 2025, 46 years later, and I'm still in the hobby. I want people who are going to love the hobby through the tough times, the crescendo years, like we have, and some might argue are still in. I want people in the hobby that are in it because, like you say, they enjoy the hobby, they're passionate about the hobby. If you make money, that's just sort of like the gravy on top of the potatoes, but they're there for the potatoes to begin with, like I am and you guys are. So, that's as far as I'll go. Like to get someone in the hobby for a 3-year window so they can make, $50,000, $100,000, and then right off into the blue yonder. That's not a hobbyist. That's someone who dipped their toe in the water. They didn't jump in the pool, swim, and stay, right? They just took a dip and then left in the grand scheme of things. So growing the hobby, I'm all for, but it's to me like you guys said, it's got to be people who are going to stick around for the long haul. And it's not just a red and black on a profit and loss sheet. Because if that's all it is, we can make the debate whether even to call them hobbyists or not. We can just call them business people at that point, right? Just salesmen or women. So if they're true, if they want to be a real hobbyist, and a real hobbyist can sell stuff. That's not where I do that, I feel.
Yeah,
because I set up at shows with a show inventory. But where does 60 to 70% of the money I make at a show go? Right back in the hobby, right? And some of that, and it's not all for show inventory. Some of that is stuff that I'm buying that's in this room and never going to see one of my showcases, right? So I'm for growing the hobby if they're really hobbyists coming in. If it's just people who see, profit and loss, then I can debate whether they're the hobbyists to begin with. You're not really growing the hobby. You're just growing a sales force.
Yeah, we've got a guy that comes in. He's always shopping things at our show, right? And I saw him, and everybody, don't get me wrong, and I'm not trying to be a hypocrite or anything like that. I do set up at our local show. I have a few odds and end things. Trust me, it's like nothing. I have nothing over 3 figures in my case. I'll sell a couple $100 worth of stuff, and I'll be happy. And every bit of that money goes towards my national at the end of the year. But anyway, this guy comes to the shows and he's shopping. He came up at the last show and he had some 62 Topps base and he had some 63 Fleer. And so he goes, "You want to see these?" And I looked at him and I said, "Are there any green tint variations in these 62 Topps?" And he's like, "What's that?" And I said, what about the Joe Adcock and what about the checklist in the 63 Fleer? What's that? I looked through them, didn't see anything like that. But all he was trying to do was sell. He had no education, no knowledge. All he knew is he had a box of cards that he wanted to unload and sell for more than what he paid. I'm sorry, everybody. I've got a problem with that. Have some knowledge. At least know if you're going to deal, know what you're dealing with. I mean, I have extensive knowledge on vintage cards. I grew up reading the Sports Collector Bible from cover to cover with kid. I guarantee you that I know a lot about vintage baseball cards because I collected baseball cards till 1991, till I finally got out of it and couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? Is kind of know what you got, and not even just for for selling, right? But just for your knowledge base, right? He might have had. What if you weren't so honest, right? And he had something like that, and he didn't even know there was a premium on it, and you just made him an offer and took advantage of a situation, which you could have done, if he had that. If he had that in the inventory that he had. So like, yeah, I agree with you. And I see that too. And it is what it is. And this is not a made up story. Someone's going to probably say you're making up a story. I've had people come to my table selling stuff, and I always try to buy or at least look and see if there's anything I'm interested in. And I pulled a couple cards out in this one particular instance. I don't remember the specifics. And I asked the person what they wanted, and honestly, they said a number that was low, and because one of the cards was like a variation, and they weren't aware of it. And I'm like, this one's a variation. I could have just took my money out of my pocket, ripped, paid them, but I wasn't comfortable. That's not how I sleep at night. So I'm like, listen, I think you don't realize this one, an SP variation. It's worth a little bit. I'm still interested. But by all means, your offer is more than fair. But I forgot what they said. They might have asked for like $40, and I'm like, I'm gonna give you like 75, if that's still good. But here's why: because this was a variation. Did you know that? And they were honest, like, no, I didn't. Thanks for telling me. You didn't. You could have just paid me what I said, and I could have, and not even done anything wrong. It wouldn't have made me a bad guy. But I just didn't want to be that guy at the end of the day when my head hits the pillow. So I wanted them to know what they had for sure. And I still paid a fair price that they were even happier with because they were going to take $40 less. It was still a price where I can, as a reseller for those particular items, I have enough room to move and do it on that side of the table. So it was a win-win, but it could have been a bigger win for me. I don't really like operating on that, on those terms. But and that's the thing with the newer stuff, guys. I don't even know everything, and I'm doing shows once or twice a month. With variations and short prints and super short prints and all that stuff. So it's hard to keep up with all the new releases. And Val, to piggyback off your point, right? I hate to say this because it's one of the most fun things you can do in the hobby is open packs of cards, whether that's just packs, a box, a case, but the prices of wax, as you illustrated, are just insane now. And it's generally going to be a losing proposition. You better enjoy opening the packs because when all the smoke settles and the dust clears, you probably spent more than what you pulled out of the pack. So you better enjoy the ride while you're on it, because when the ride stops, it's probably over, and it's generally a losing proposition. So, but they can do that because breaking has saved the waxing. I remember a time, you guys probably do too, when wax didn't sell out. It would collect dust. It would be at a wholesale place on a pallet. And I'd go in there during my store days, and the wholesaler's like, Newman, this stuff's collecting dust. I'll give you a hell of a price on it. Just, $5 a box, get it out of here. And those days are gone because I don't care what they make pickleball cards. They make bowling cards. You put it into a breaker's hands and they set up a break. People are going to buy in because there's gonna be a 1-on-1, there's gonna be a gold auto, there's gonna be a super fractor, there's gonna be the shiny bling bling, and people, it's like you say, it's gambling. People want to hit. The same reason people go to casinos, and all the bells and whistles and the chance that the lights and buzzers go off when I pull the hand down on the slot machine, and everyone's going to see me, and I'm a big winner, right? Look at me, I'm going to get this big check and be on the casino website. Picture me, right? We have the card. We have the card version of that with opening wax and buying into breaks, and not everyone gets that big check in their face on the Topps website, or the social media. And chances are, more often than not, you're going to take it on the chin for what you've bought into and what you get out of it. And I get it. Gambling is legal in most places, and this is just another version of it. But know that going in. If you know that going in, and you spend what you're capable of spending without foreclosing on your house, then I guess have fun. But sometimes that isn't always the case.
Well, you were talking about that one thing that we got this year, turn 4, and we have the answer kabooms. They are kavroom.
I'm laughing really just because. No, it is cool, and I like the term. I'm just laughing at how close the term.
It's because NASCAR didn't like the term kaboom when it goes to cars and stuff. So, so we got kavroom, and it was a $10 case, and I think you get a per case. I can't rember how many kavrooms.
I believe there's 20 different kavroom cards.
Yeah. So, but
are they like the foil? Are they like the on the stick and ball side, as you say? Are they patterned after that?
Yeah, it's an image of the car, not the driver of the car. Like I said, it's $10. You're gonna get a dud box is a good one. So
dud boxes. There's no such thing as a dud box.
So it's one of the things that we get. It's a 4-card box. It's less than you get for national. You get like 2 autos and mem and a base.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's a good segue. Let's talk about racing. NASCAR Radio is your YouTube channel where you do your podcast. How long's it been? You're right there, I think, with this podcast in terms of you're pretty close, if not long. Like I'm losing track. It's been so long.
March 7, 2019.
Yeah, so pretty close. I'm November of 2018 with this show, so I got a 4-month head start. They started the race, and I ran out 4 months ahead, but to use more racing terms. But yeah, and then listen, we all 3 of us know in podcast terms that's a long time, man. 6-7 years is a long time to look. You look at the side of the road and see podcasts that started and are now ended, right? It's not easy to do them. It takes a lot of work. It can be a grind, and so I want to give credit where credit's due, or where credit's due, right? But it's hard to maintain and be consistent too. So hats off to you guys for 6 years now. Almost, or 6 years, and as you're approaching, and almost 7, and when anytime someone asks me anything racing related, I always direct them to you guys and your show. You guys are, to me, are the faces of, and again, not the paint you in the one corner, because other stuff, but you really know that stuff more than I don't know. Well, I know very little. I know a little bit, but I think you guys know more stick and ball sports than I know racing, going back the other way. So I always send them your way, and so kudos on approaching 7 years. Just kind of, we talked a little bit about the stick and ball state of the hobby. Where are we with the racing side? I don't want to just say NASCAR. You got other F1 and other forms of racing. What is the state of the racing hobby as we speak?
I think the racing hobby, as far as the hobby part of racing, it's doing pretty well. I mean, this year we were actually able to get all of our card issues in within the calendar year, which we're finally getting caught up from the pandemic. So I will give a golf clap to Panini on getting that done, because that has been something I have been preaching about on the show like you would not believe. So I'm very happy to see that. We've got a lot of cool releases. Of course, we have our own Prism, National Treasures. We have our Donruss base. This year we got a new release called Turn 4, like Val was talking about. And then we've got Select. So we only have 5 things every year. It's like a $5 foot long. It's not like all the stick and ball sports where there's something new every week. Oh my God. Val and I've talked about it a million times. There is no way I think I could keep up with all of that. It's just so much.
Guys, I set up at 1 or 2 shows a month. Now I'm more of a vintage guy, so I don't open a ton of the new stuff anymore. I used to, maybe some years back. But it's hard to keep up. I'm being handed stuff at my table to look at, and I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. I know probably a good percentage of what's in my hand, but every once in a while I'll have to ask somebody. Like, I gotta ask you, what is this? Where did it come from? Give me the backs here. And I never would have to say that, but now there's just so much stuff you can't keep up with it. Oh, and I'm not embarrassed. Years ago, I'd be embarrassed to ask somebody, hey, what's this? You know it, he said. But there's just so much coming out at such a fast clip, Val and Logan, that there's no way. I don't care how on top of you are. You're just not going to know everything. And so every once in a while, I have to ask somebody, hey, what is this? What's the story? Could I Google it? Sure. But I rather ask them, and I could also cross-reference and check to see if they're telling it. But I think 9 times out of 10 people will tell you what it is, what the odds, what about it, that sort of thing. So, but yeah, it's hard to keep up. So, having the 5 lines. Now, do you try to open at least some of everything, or not necessarily?
Yeah, we do, don't we, Val?
Yeah, we do. It's nice with the 5 release for NASCAR. IndyCar has 2 releases from Parkside, and then F1 has a releases or 5, and then all of 3 of those have on demand as well. I think a good mix there. So it's not again, we kind of specialize in NASCAR like that, but so open and wax, not too crazy with stuff coming out every. And I know they've kind of Logan mentioned about trying to push and get all 5 in. Panini's the primary for NASCAR, moving stuff around, trying to get other stuff, but luckily it came down to the wire there. 2025 we got it high end.
Yeah, and not only that, this year we're blessed with a great rookie class. Driver that's on top of that class, his name is Connor Zilic, and he was in the Xfinity Series this year. He's moving up to the Cup Series next year, but his cards are going for what we consider astronomical prices. Like what Val said, $4,300 for his 1-of-1 National Treasures autograph card. But it's not like the 5, 6, 7 figure stuff that we're seeing in the other sports, and I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, for sure, because it makes it a little bit more affordable, right, to enjoy that aspect of the hobby, no doubt. And you guys we're in the same age bracket or pretty close, right? We grew up in an era, even in sports cards, right, where whoever the player was, they pretty much had one rookie card, at most 3, right? If you had Topps, Fleer, and Donruss. But before even the other 2 came along, you had a Topps rookie card. Now that was it. It was easier. You didn't have to ask, like, what's the best card to get of this particular athlete, right? Mm-hmm. Now they can have 700 different rookie cards. Like, choose your weapon and try to do it in the next week or 2 after you do all the analysis and break down all the data and all that, right? I appreciate the times that I grew up in when you didn't have to worry about what card, right? It was kind of the card. You get as many of those, growing up in New York City and chasing Manley rookie. You had 3 of them, right? You had the Topps, the Donruss, and the Fleer. You might have had a favorite one. Mine was the Donruss, but I was happy with any of the 3 when I opened that particular brand's packs and hit a Manley rookie. Now, if Manley played today, he'd have 700 different rookie cards, and who knows which one you'd like. But it's just a blur, right? It'd just be like, and some of that I think is why it's become sort of a shell game with money, because there's no attachment. There's no loyalty to a brand. You know, when we grew up, guys, we had 3 brands, right? And Topps, they didn't really make different lines, right? It was Topps flagship. It was Donruss flagship. It was Fleer. There was no Fleer at that point. No other lines off the brands like we see now. And I think, well, that's nice because, you know, there's pluses and minuses to that. You get more designs and more choices. There's minuses too, because it just becomes a blur, and it just becomes like you guys were saying earlier, right? What's this worth? Or it's not, you pull something out of a pack and the kid's not glad he got it, but like the first question is, what's this will go for? You know, now, oh, it's $50, it's $100. Oh, that's awesome. Not like, hey, he's my favorite player. I just saw him play the other night. Would you see that home run or touchdown, you know, that he scored? Like, you know, now it's just, hey, what's the intrinsic value built in to this piece of cardboard or chrome? And so, you know, maybe I'm the old man on the porch. Not the first time I'd be accused of that, but I'm sort of glad I grew up with those days of the hobby, because I appreciate those days, and I still appreciate the hobby we have now. Now, I may not, you know, agree with everything. I still appreciate that the hobby's still here. It's the greatest hobby in the world. And you know, sometimes we have to adapt, and hey, if we don't want to partake in that, you know, I don't open wax like I used to. That's how I've evolved and adapted and changed, right? You know, for you, Logan, you stopped collecting and you know, the stick and ball sports, like you said, 91, and then went to the racing side. Nothing wrong with that, right? Just where your passion led you, and there's no wrong answer really. But you know, it's kind of to each their own. But I guess going back to an earlier point, I guess I appreciate people who also keep cards, who put them on their desk, who have them behind them, who, if someone comes over, can show a card and say why it's their favorite, or why they love it, or why that athlete means so much to them. But I just feel like some of those days are, you know, we're dying out, as they say.
Yeah, they are.
Thank you to Val and Logan. Again, this was part 2. Part 1 was last week. Go check that out if you missed it. But good friends of mine, glad to have them on, and looking forward to seeing them here soon as the national approaches. Go out there and vote in the Racing Card Hall of Fame voting to get your favorite racing cards in their rightful place in the Racing Card Hall of Fame. Look in the show notes for the link to get your votes in. Thanks, everybody. We'll have some closing thoughts and wrap up this week's show.
Time for our Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week.
Hey, this is Herman from Personal Rips and Hobby Chat on YouTube and Twitter at 3B Collection. Reminding you to always remember, the hobby is the people.
If you'd like to be the Hobby is the People Announcer of the Week, do a WAV or MP3 file and send it to sportscardnationpc@gmail.com.